Hello and welcome back to the EV Life podcast. I'm your host, Crystal.
I'm Hannah Neal.
And today's episode is a topic that's come up quite a bit in our EV Life community on the AMA mobile app. We're talking about how you can add charging infrastructure for electric vehicles in multi-residential unit buildings, also known as MURBs. And you'll hear that term used quite a lot in today's episode.
Yeah, so today we speak to Will Lemay-Choquette from Murbly, and it's based out of Quebec. And their whole purpose is to help get charging installed in buildings. So they work with, building owners, property managers, condo boards, even building dwellers like a lot of you, and giving strategy and resources so that you can, kind of know where to start and know the steps it takes to get chargers installed in your building.
Yeah, and Murbly does provide quite a bit of resources. They actually started off just providing resources to people looking to add EV infrastructure to buildings. So we will link to their website where you can find those resources. And although they are based in Quebec, they do consultations across North America. So I hope you'll find this conversation with Will helpful if you are looking to possibly add EV infrastructure to your building. So here's my interview with Will. I hope you enjoy. Hi, Will. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So I'm really excited to learn a little bit about Murbly. Can you tell me what Murbly does and what your role is at the company?
Yes. So initially, Murbly was an informative platform founded by NRCan, Natural Resources Canada. So at the beginning, it was just like a website where people can have access to free resources and tools to get started in their EV charging project. And throughout the years, we added more services like capacity studies, the EV Ready Plan, and we also do free consultation to help building getting started in their EV project.
Can you tell me a little bit about the EV Ready Planning Guide and how that can help our listeners?
Yeah, exactly. So especially in MURBs, the process is an issue and a limitation. So the EV Ready Plan helps you guide and elaborate your EV charging strategies because there's multiple strategies, there are multiple technologies. So it helps you guide you throughout the years because when there's a change in administration, for example, you don't want to start back your project, right? So it's like a report that can help you throughout the years to install all the EV charging at some point.
Yeah. So, we get a lot of members asking us how they can go about approaching their condo boards to put in EV charging in the building because there isn't any already. So can you share a little bit about the steps and processes that condo boards or building managers for apartment buildings should follow to make their buildings EV ready?
Yes, so you need to ask your manager or your board as soon as possible. And if you're not alone, it's better. However, in condos, for example, the limitation is the legal aspect of it. So as soon as possible, and it can be in general meetings because there's vote needed to be voted for installing EV charging. So my recommendation is as soon as possible because the process is pretty long.
Yeah, and when you say it's better to not ask alone, you mean it probably helps your case if you can rally a few of the residents together, right? So when you say the legal aspects, and it's different by province, but there has to be a certain percentage of all residents who agree that this is a good idea, right, to move forward with installing EV chargers?
Yeah, exactly. The more the better because, like you said, it varies from provinces to provinces. But for example, in Quebec, if we do install in the common areas, we need the 75% of the resident in favor of the project. So you need to inform the people that we need to vote this on the legal aspect of it to change and add to our common areas.
Do you have any recommendations for residents on how they can advocate for the installation of EV chargers in their buildings?
Yes, well, it become more and more important for building to update their infrastructure since there's more and more EVs on the roads, and it becomes the first question of real estate brokers. Is it possible to connect a charger in our building? If not, they don't bother coming in because they know that the process is pretty long. And if you have an EV and there's no infrastructures or a policy, well, you know you can't have a charger in the next days. It's going to take months, even years.
Yeah. It definitely makes the building more appealing to people who own an EV if if they can charge at home, right? So that's, I think, a big factor there. But what are some of the challenges that I know you mentioned the legal aspect? It does require a certain percentage of all residents to agree upon it. But are there other challenges for installing EV infrastructure in MURBs?
So the limitation would be the process because people don't know all the steps that needs to be done, like the capacity studies, the strategy, etc. And more in the west of Canada, people just talked about connected chargers, but there's a lot of different technologies that provide you with different options. So the limitation would be to have a consultant with you to help you, guide you, and build a strategy in regards of the interests and the needs of the corners. Usually people start project and they don't survey the corners, so they just build a project and it's not voted in favor in assembly because they didn't even survey their residents.
So that's a huge one. So we want to reiterate again, the first step should always be getting the residents on board and making sure that you meet that legal threshold first before you even begin bringing consultants.
Yeah, exactly, because you can build a strategy to limit the financial impact on the whole building and give all the responsibility to the ones that wants EVs. And that helps you vote project in favor. Because if you present a 100% EV ready project, but there's only two residents in the building that wants a charger, well, it's not going to be in favor.
And this is specifically for condo buildings, right? It's a little different for apartment buildings.
Yeah, exactly. For rentals, for example, if the owner wants to install charger, but he only has to call an electrician and install chargers.
Right.
It's only in condos that we have all those limitations in the process.
Right. Have you noticed any positive outcomes from MURBs that have installed EV chargers?
Well, I can't talk about Alberta, but in Montreal, all the buildings that have as their infrastructure updated, well, it's much more, how do you say it? It's much more interesting for new buyers to buy the condos in their city. And also, well, people do have access to government rebates. So it's not going to be there forever. So people take advantages of the government rebates that are accessible.
So we're talking about, buildings that already exist and adding in that EV infrastructure. But have you noticed any trends with new buildings kind of already like installing the EV chargers to begin with? Is that a trend that you're noticing at all?
Yes, so it's not for all of Canada, but in Quebec, for example, there's some municipalities that have some needs and do need to install the infrastructure for everyone. But there are some cities that is just partial infrastructures. It's different in new building because, well, promoters want the cheapest, right? So they install what they need to install for the one that asked at the beginning, but afterwards the strategy changed because people don't want those types of infrastructures or technologies. So it differs from new build to existing buildings.
Yeah. So Anything else that you've noticed in terms of like charging infrastructure that you can share with our audience? Anything positive? Like I said, we have an EV community, and we do get quite a lot of people who are concerned about this because we have people who have EVs and they've moved into apartment buildings or condos, downsized, and they now don't have a way to charge at home. So anything that you can share with these people that would be helpful?
Well, yes, you need to ask a consultant to build a strategy for you because people think that it's really big projects and it scares people in terms of it's going to cost a lot of money. But there are some approaches that provide you with a strategy and have charges in the building for less cost. So I would recommend do ask for a professional to build your strategy. Don't do it alone. And it's much more easier than we can think.
And you said Murbly started off pretty much as like a website with resources. So what are some of those resources? I imagine they're still available to people looking for them. So can you just share again some of those resources and how our users might find them and use them with what their advocacy?
Yes, so there's a lot of documentation on the different technologies available on the market. There's example of survey, there's example of EV charging policy. And we do, like I said, offer a free consultation so we can provide you with a strategy for free. So we do have the experience in condos. Like for myself, I was a condo building manager before I was doing this. So I know all the little nuances that you can have and the limitation that we can observe. So yeah, there's a lot of resources. We do work on getting more and more updated right now, but please feel free to contact us if there's something you are researching and it's not on our website.
And do you offer consultations across Canada?
Across North America. So I do work with building in British Columbia. I did one in Alberta and a lot of in the United States as well.
So we will share links to Murbly where you can find these resources. And you heard it from Will. They do consultations across North America. So if you are interested in booking a free consultation, you can do so. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast and talking to us today.
Thank you for having me. I had a blast.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the EV Life podcast. Make sure that you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. And if you'd like to join the conversation, you can always do so in the EV Life group on the AMA mobile app. We'll talk to you in the next episode.